Okay, so now it's official. LG has confirmed that they're leaving the smartphone business for good. The reasons for them doing that vary drastically, but there's one reason sitting right here, but we'll get to that in a bit. That reason started in 2014. Hint, hint. I'm pretty sure a lot of you guys already know that if you're watching this video. But I just want to give you my thoughts on it and what it's going to be like in the future regarding competitors and stuff. But before we jump right in, don't forget to hit that like button and check out my channel. And if you like what you see, please consider hitting that subscribe button as it helps me out a lot. Also, hit that bell notification button to get notified whenever I upload a new video. I'm on Instagram, Discord, and Twitter, and you can follow me on those using the links down in the description below. So LG in more recent times, their biggest release was the LG Wing, and though it's a really interesting phone, and if I had the money, I'd definitely get my hands on that phone. Despite it being a really innovative and I wouldn't call it revolutionary, but because there used to be a phone like that. Here's a photo of it. And it also was an LG. It was the KD850 or something. I forgot what it was called, but there's a photo of it. LG had a phone like the Wing, surprise, surprise, before the Wing. So it's a really good idea and stuff, but it didn't sell well. So I'm assuming LG put all they had into the LG Wing and it failed. And they're like, we're out of here. So if you recall back to 2014, 2013, around that time, LG's decline started there, and it all started with this. This is the LG G4, aka the boot loop phone, aka the phone that started LG's decline. This is a prime example of an LG G4, no power, nothing can be done. I can't fix it, no one can fix it. Bad design is an understatement. The processor and the memory module being put together, blah, 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 blah. I've done a separate video on that. You can find it over here, the decline of LG. And this is basically a follow-up video to that because now LG is gone for good in the phone business. But I'll also talk about the chances of them coming back in a bit. So 2014, 2015, 2013 to 2016 actually is when they started going downhill. The LG G4 was a disaster. Their response to customer criticism and customers being unhappy was also quite bad. There was a court case, blah, 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 blah. This is the Nexus 5X, also by LG. Again, another piece of crap that cannot be repaired. You can see there's dust on it because I have completely given up with this phone trying to repair it. This thing had the same issue, boot looping, won't turn on, blah, 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 blah. These two are extreme examples of boot loop. They don't even turn, there's nothing. They don't give me anything. They're completely gone. So that was where LG's trouble started. And by the end of end of 2016, they actually started making decent phones. But there was an issue. They were just another Android manufacturer. They were not doing anything amazing. And to top that off, Samsung, in the meantime, while LG was dealing with their whole boot loop issue, Samsung and all the other Chinese manufacturers, Huawei, Vivo, Oppo, they've already caught up and they were making great phones. Vivo, Oppo, and they were making motorized cameras. They were putting a crap ton of cameras on their phones. They were doing new things with software. Xiaomi made that curved almost entire display phone. The other companies were catching up, and they've already caught up by the end of 2017-ish, once LG had sorted out all their boot loop issues and stuff. But that just made LG another manufacturer. They were not special. Now, they did start making decently good phones like the LG Stylo 5, great specs, a decent camera, stylus, and all that stuff. I use this phone quite often. A lot of good features for a really low price. They started doing things right. But there was always that lingering kind of thing at the back of people's mind, that trust they lost in LG thanks to these two phones. And there were a couple of other phones as well that had the boot loop issue. So the customer base, basically the trust the customer base had in LG had already declined. People were buying lower end phones like the Stylo 5. There's a LG Q7 Plus in this bag. I'm not taking it out because its display is destroyed and there's glass everywhere. People were buying those mid-ranged and lower-end phones, but that also was in competition with Motorola. So Motorola does stuff like cell phones like the Moto G Stylus for $300. And with all these features, it's kind of hard for LG to be on top. Motorola was in the business, and then Nokia came back. Nokia's phones were pretty cheap. And there was a lot of mid-range to lower-end competition. So LG was just another competitor. They were nothing surprising, and no one was going to purchase their higher-end phones. I even forgot what their higher-end phones were. They were just so obscure that people who keep up with the phone market, they generally ignored a lot of their higher-end phones. Not many people spoke about them because Samsung, Apple, Huawei, Vivo, they were the ones in the spotlight. People had almost forgotten about LG because they lost their trust in them. Now, more recently, the LG Wing got a lot of coverage, but it still was it's a nice phone and stuff, but then at the end of the day, I'd say 80% of the customer base prefer a simple slab of a phone. They don't want fancy turning mechanisms, blah, 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 blah. There's always going to be a niche group of people that will buy those phones. However, in general, people do not care about those phones. So overall, it was in part due to the failure of the LG Wing. And when we speak of flagships, usually flagships are what push the mid-range market and the lower-end market to do better. So when LG's flagship phones were failing, their business model, which overall included I'd say a good average of sales of flagship devices and lower-end devices. Basically, the failure of the flagship devices kind of went against their business model and their overall sales, sales model. I guess that was eventually their reasoning to stop making phones overall. Like I said, it's really hard to compete in the lower end market, especially with Motorola, Nokia, etc., etc. Was it a good decision? Absolutely not. LG has the money and the power to stay and make phones. They should have technically stopped making flagship devices for some time and just stuck to mid-range and somewhat higher mid-range devices like Nokia is doing. Nokia, occasionally they release a flagship device like the was that phone with 5 cameras, the Nokia 9. But I think what LG should have done is just stuck to mid-range and higher mid-range devices as well as lower end devices. And eventually in the future, once they've got back their popularity, they should have just gone ahead and started making flagships again. Now the question is, now that they're gone, will they ever be back again? Now, we all know that Nokia was out of the picture for about, 3 years, I guess, after Microsoft bought them. Well, that makes it 4 years. I can't really remember. However, will LG come back? Now, that's a great question. And I'll also talk about why I think LG should actually come back and shouldn't have gone away in the first place. There's a chance that they'll come back if Nokia, a much smaller company, did make a comeback and is doing pretty decently well, especially in markets like India, China, well, not China, but India, generally Asia in general. Nokia phones are selling well, and the Nokia 2V did sell really well in the US as well. So Nokia is having decent success, or I'd say pretty good success. Well, it's not really Nokia, it's HMD Global with the Nokia branding, but the engineers and people, they're all from Nokia. So it's safe to say that's identical to the original Nokia, but they do have problems. However, if a small company like HMD Global can do it, can come back and actually sell phones, a company like LG is not going to have trouble doing that. because they have basically an unlimited advertising budget. They have the money, they have the resources, they have the manufacturing capabilities, they have so many things going for them. So I honestly feel that if LG comes back, they should come back maybe in like about 2 years after resting for a while. And I hope they do come back, because competition is something that we really need. The lesser the amount of manufacturers we have, the more the bigger manufacturers are going to manipulate their pricing, etc., etc. Now, we have a lot of competitors from China recently: Vivo, Huawei, Xiaomi. There's going to be a plethora of competitors in the mid-range and the high range as well. However, bigger names like LG should always be there to stand up to companies like Samsung and Apple. LG was once almost the top three. They competed directly with Samsung and Apple. They made great phones. They did a lot of things, like I'd say first time things, like for example this thing. This is the LG KE850 Prada from 2007, released a few months before the original iPhone. This was the world's first phone with a capacitive touchscreen. So they did that before any other manufacturer. They did 3D phones really well. This is the LG Thrill 4G, one of the 3D phones in the 2011s, 2012s, I can't remember. This was one of the first Windows phones running Windows Phone 7. This is the LG Optimus 7. It was a part of 5, I think. There was a Samsung phone, there were 2 LG phones, there was 2 HTCs, I can't remember. But this was one of the first Windows phones that were launched at the same time, LG Optimus 7. They did a lot of great things. And how can we forget the LG, was this P900, the Optimus 2X. The world's first phone with a dual-core processor. This phone was revolutionary at its time. It had an NVIDIA Tegra 2 processor. Really big deal back in its day, and then the Motorola Atrix came after it, etc., etc. So LG did a lot of great things, and they did it really well. The issue is that when a company like this that has the capability to do stuff like this is out of the picture, Samsung, Apple, and all the other manufacturers are going to have less competition. Competition is important in such a wide range market like this. The best example of competition is Apple. The iPhone, like phones before the iPhone, were crappy pieces of plastic. And especially we'll talk about the iPhone 4, because the original iPhone, it did push a lot of things to be done, basically big changes in the smartphone market. For example, after the release of the original iPhone, the original design for Android was completely changed. The original Android phone was a phone with a keypad that looked like a Nokia X202. However, after the original iPhone was released, the original Android phone was scrapped, and they made the HTC Dream or the T-Mobile G1 to compete with the iPhone. So competition is important. And another great example is basically the iPhone 4. Without the iPhone 4, we'd be using pieces of plastic today. A lot of manufacturers did use metal, but stainless steel and glass was optimized so well with the iPhone 4, and like it was pushed forward with the iPhone 4. The use of such premium materials, stainless steel, glass, and it showed the other manufacturers, hey, we should build phones like that. And that's what they did. They also went to compete with the iPhone 4, making phones of stainless steel and glass and better materials in general. So that's why you should have competition, because competition pushes innovation. It pushes phones to be cheaper. It does a lot. Competition is important. And when a big manufacturer like LG goes out of the picture, we have one less competitor. So the other manufacturers are going to be less stressed, and they'll be like, yeah, we can just put whatever prices we want, and it's going to be bad for the consumer. So that's why I honestly feel that if LG comes back, and if they never went away in the first place, that will be better. It's for the consumer. At the end of the day, it's better for the consumer because of the competition. But anyway, LG did what they had to do. I honestly hope they come back eventually in maybe like 2-3 years. They have the capacity to come back, and I will love to see what they will do if they ever do come back. I hope they start releasing great phones. I honestly enjoyed the LG phones that I had. I used this Stylo 5, even though it's not like a higher end phone. I never really owned a higher end LG phone, but I still think that without LG, prices and stuff would be quite different today. So they did have a huge impact on the phone market, technology, pricing, so many things. Without them, we would not be here where we are today. So it's just one piece in a huge puzzle, which is the phone market in general. We got Apple, we got Samsung, we got LG, we got so many manufacturers, and LG is one important piece in that puzzle. So I hope someday they do come back and put back that piece, and I hope that they start making great phones again. But that was just my rundown of the somewhat history of LG and my opinion on LG quitting the phone market. I'm sorry if this video was quite long. Anyway, you guys treat this as a podcast anyway, so why not? Anyway, that was my impressions on LG leaving the phone market. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to hit that like button and check out my channel. If you like what you see, please consider hitting that subscribe button, thumbs up, and I'll see you guys in my next video.